Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Since its assumption of office as Nigeria's Minister of Works, Senator Dave Umahi appears to have resolved to deliver good roads despite the economic situation in Nigeria. It will be recalled that shortly after he assumed office, Senator Umahi, the former governor of Umahi State, toured the roads in Nigeria extensively, ensuring that he saw every road the way they were. The recent completion of the third mainland bridge is a testament to his unique style of matching action to his words to deliver the dividends of democracy. Despite the soaring cost of materials in the construction industry due to commodity price inflation and supply chain disruptions, the Minister of Works, the ministry, under Senator Umahi, is committed, we are told, to prudence, cost-effectiveness, promptness, and quality delivery of road projects. Now, joining us on this morning show, as we take a look at the Ministry of Works, activities, projects, and deliverables, is Senator David Umahi, the Honorable Minister of Works. Senator, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Good morning, Abati. Good morning to you.
And it's good to see you in Lagos, enjoying the beauty of Lagos.
Thank you very much.
I see you've had some interviews. You've been on channels, you've been on TVC, and I've tried to do a review of some of the issues you address. First, with Waziri Adamawa Atiku Abubakar, saying that there is a monkey business with the Lagos-Calabar coastal highway. You try to address some of the issues about cost, about process, and all of that, but you did not address the big issue that Waziri Adamawa Atiku Abubakar, PDP presidential candidate, raised with regard to the fact that that project is about personal interest. He said, to start with, the contractor, High Tech, belonging to Chaguri, is a friend and a business partner of President Tinubu. He also raised the issue about the project beginning from Lagos, 47.47 kilometers in Lagos. In the interviews that and the responses that you have made, you didn't address that. Please, can you bring us up to date about how policy is being made to promote personal interest, and also some of the points you made about cost and process?
Well, thank you so much, Abati, and good morning, Nigerians. I wouldn't have much to say because you can't place, something on nothing. When you say that the project is about personal interest, there's contradiction there. Because he said that His Excellency, former Vice President, he said that the Jonathan administration, wanted to do that project, and he put a cost, I think, about 12-point-something, billion US. So, whose interest was that administration promoting and wanting to do the project?
No, Mr. Ononuga, Bayo Ononuga, already said it's a new project, that President Jonathan did not start it, that President Buhari did not touch it.
You asked me a question based on what I'm addressing, what the man said. Because if you say that, if you take the fact that it's a new project, then it means that the question will not arise. So I have to answer based on his assertion, and he ran figures. And I don't want to disagree with the spokesperson, because I have a design from NDDC on that project. There is a design, and I have the cross-section here. There's a cross-section of the design of NDDC. NDDC, designs, quite bulky. They can fit this room. So when I was reviewing the design, the one we are implementing, I had to call for that design. So I can say that there is a design. And then You now come up again and say that Buhari administration renegotiated the project to 11 point, I think $1 billion US dollars, whose interest, was the administration promoting? And I think that they wanted to do this project, it may be right by saying there's the difference between Federal Ministry of Works and then NDDC, but it's all the federal government, projects. So there is actually a design from NDDC, but I cannot confirm the costing, but I want to take his costing, to run figures. I'm here to run figures about, so that is about that issue of personal interest. I know very well that the coastal road, was, initiated. The idea came from the ingenuity of Mr. President when he was governor. And so he procured the right of way within the Lagos corridor, okay? And then gazetted it. We will come to that. But the reason for the project taking off now is all about how we can, inject some activities. If you want to, come out of inflection, you have to look at infrastructure, investment in infrastructure. And that's exactly what that project is addressing. It's addressing a lot of elements on return on investment. So there's no personal interest, associated with that. So I agree with him that this past administration tried to do the projects, but they could not do the projects because I have the design here. The design of that project is here. Then number two, it's quite pity to say, why is it starting from Lagos? You didn't call it Calabar, Lagos Coastal Road. You called it Lagos, Calabar, Coastal Road, which means that there is a 0 point. We have Chene Zero. And the Chene Zero happens to be at Ahmad Bello Way. And it coincides with the Eco-Atlantic. So that's the coincidence. So I'm starting the project, I've started the project at Chene Zero, which is Ahmad Bello Way, and is progressing. As of today, I can tell you that about 80% of the first 1.3 kilometer is completed. So that is the answer to the two questions that
one of the issues raised by Waziri Adamawa is that there was no competitive bidding. So talking about personal interest, yeah, he was saying that President Tinubu just handed over the project to his business partners. That's the big issue. And then in terms of the thing beginning from Lagos and all that, Landmark, the owners of Landmark have been saying they just want to...
Take me small.
No, there are many issues. You are going to be here for 1 hour.
No, my brain is not as hot as yours.
We are going to be with you for 1 hour. They say their building is just going to be demolished, and they are also asking questions.
Let's address the Landmark issue differently, because there was this other issue you raised.
About competitive bidding.
Very competitive bidding, very, very instructive, In the Procurement Act, which is an act of the Parliament, the act of National Assembly, you have a section of that law that allows you to procure a particular project based on the skills a company has. And I give you an example. In the Top Mainland Bridge that we are doing, all you're seeing is what we are doing on the deck. That we have a lot of work going on under the deck, underwater works. And we invited Julio Beja because they have specialty in that aspect of work. So we invited them based on Procurement Act. And so the way you are doing such invitation, there must be proof of track record of a company that has done such works. And so they gave us a quotation. We ran the sea with them. We showed them what we observed. They showed us what we observed. And don't forget that in 2013, ISCON, company from Italy was invited to, do some assessment of the deterioration of some of the underwater works. And in 2019, they also reviewed it. And so based on those two, we invited Julio Beja. And we said, look, you have the competence to do this. And so they quoted, we negotiated. They are doing that work now. Nobody's complaining. Now, when it comes to this coastal route, we are looking at two things. One, the design of NDDC was based on a flexible pavement. You don't do flexible pavement when you have high water table. The coastal route is just the ocean there. And so you have, high water table, which is not friendly with asphalt. So what we are doing is reinforced concrete. People say we are doing decking on the road. And that's what we're doing, using wide 20 millimeter rods, and then 250 millimeter, thickness of concrete and grade 40. And so we looked at a company that has been able to, fight the ocean surge. And you recall, Abati, I'm sure you were traveling up and down that time with Mr. President, that there was a time that the entire via was almost sacked by, the flood from the ocean. And they devised all solution until this high-tech came and then provided solution. In fact, the former governor, the president now, insisted that there could be solution. And with courage and, of course, the grace of God, they got that. I took the National Assembly people there. You don't have any. In fact, it is an advantage because not only that they stop the flooding, along that, axis, they're also, they're able to also reclaim a lot of land, and it's another Dubai. That's a different thing altogether. So we looked at that. We looked at a company that has so far demonstrated capacity, and competence in terms of reinforced concrete routes. And then what comes to mind is the solution that we've gotten from Dangote, high-tech, tax credit, program, whereby we solve the problem of Apapa Oshodi road. You know how that terrible that road is, defied all kinds of solutions. But right now, you go there, you'll be very, very happy. There is no crack, and it's taking static loads. Our roads are not designed to take static loads, But you have, hundreds of trucks parking there, and we've not experienced any crack. We go to the deep sea port, we see what Dangote and high-tech people are doing, in terms of reinforced concrete, road pavement. And so we put this thing together. And so under the EPC plus F, which we also used, in Abuja to Makurdi, by China Harbor. And nobody has queried that. We also have the EPC plus F, from Makurdi to Ninth Mine in Enugu State. It is also done by China Harbor. Nobody has queried that. So what is wrong that we discover a company that has competence in fighting ocean surge, and then, reinforced concrete, technology, which is the best solution, and that's what I'm also advocating, especially in the southeast, part of North Central and even part of North, that it has 50 years to 100 years lifespan.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that explanation. But beyond that, the question around competitive competitive bidding still stands. Because while we hear you that you've done very successful projects, especially in regards to this very specific area, there's still questions and conversations as to there might have been other companies who would have been able to compete, not just in technical expertise, but also in price. Because the challenge with having just one bid is that then the conversations around finances, which Waziri Atiku also brought up, how much did you end up agreeing with high tech to construct this road? One. Then two, the terms of the contract as well. Is it meant to be build, operate, transfer, or will the federal government finance it?
You asked me too many questions.
No, that's so it's just on financing.
There are three questions you've asked me.
No, the first one was
the competitive bidding.
Yes, competitive bidding.
I've given you examples. You cannot talk about, commercial integrity of a project without talking about, the technical integrity of a project. That's the first thing you must consider, ability to do the job. And then how do we analyze, value for money?
Yes.
Because we have cost elements. How did I arrive at the cost of concrete? We have cost of concrete in other projects, and when we come to that and I run the figures, you see that this is the most prudent project, you can think about.
Will you be running the figures for us
Yes,
today?
I'll run the figures for you.
Fantastic. So we can hear
so
that.
The issue of competitive bidding is in line with the Procurement Act, and we follow the Procurement Act. And the reason for competitive bidding is, one, to have a company that have the integrity, stability, and capacity to do a job. And then number two, to have value for money. And we have those indices, we have them, in abundance in consideration for this project. And when you want me to run the figures, I'll run the figures.
You can go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
Please go ahead.
I don't know what you had or what values you have, but let me say that I have here the design, upon which His Excellency, predicated, all the 7 points agenda as far as this coastal road is concerned. And this is based on how we fought the design in the first place as an engineer, fellow of Nigeria Society of Engineer and a practical engineer. I fought it because the thing is predicated on, double carriageways. And each carriageway is a carriageway 7.3 meters wide with a 1.5 meters shoulder and a 2.75 meters outer shoulder. So a standard carriageway is 11.55 meters, okay? So they have that in one section, and then have another one, going and coming, So altogether, you have about 22 meters of pavement. And they are using, the kind of pavement they are using is, of course, stone-based 20 cm. Then you now have a binder cost of 6 cm, and they have wearing of 4 cm. That very defective, design, because even Lagos-Ibadan, being done by RCC and RCC and Beja, has a much more, design. And I can tell you that design has a binder of 140, millimeter. It has a, stone base of about 40 cm. So how much more a coastal road? And also the defective of that design is that you cannot use flexible pavement to build a road along the coast. It's bound to fail, and there was no even cement sand treatment. Now,
so this road is bound to fail, is that what you mean?
Yeah, this design is bound to fail.
This design you're using is bound to fail?
No. This design upon which you predicated his argument on. Okay? Now, I run my design. My design has 10 lanes and a total pavement of 59.2 meters. And the other corridor is 52 meters. My corridor is 100 meters. And out of this 100 meters, you have 5 lanes on left side, 5 lanes on the right side. And then you have 25 meters for train track. Now, our train is not starting at 0, I'm at Bello, because we reduce the corridor, there. And even up to the landmark, we come to landmark, we still reduced to 50 meters because we don't want to.
The landmark man is saying don't demolish his building.
No, we come to that.
Which is a major tourist
we come to that
location.
Let me run the figures, okay? Now, our design, has a duct 7.63 meters. Additionally, I didn't calculate it here. Now, if you look at the design of that is predicated is this thing, and you use 1,200 per dollar, then first of all, if you use 23 meters, you divide it by 11.55, the standard gauge for a superhighway, then you get that this design is 2.225 multiple, superhighways. I don't know whether you get what I'm saying. Yeah. So it means that in this design, you have the highways, standard highways to be 2.22. Now, in my design, I have my, my own to be 5.167, which means that in every cross section, you have a standard, highway of 11.55, to be 5.167. Is that correct? Yeah. Now, if you divide, 700 kilometers, if you divide this 11.11, by, 700 kilometers, you get 19.1 billion, 19.1 billion per kilometer. But this kilometer is
$19.1 billion per kilometer.
No, naira. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, per kilometer.
Call the parameters again. Let me divide it.
If you have
700,
I can give you something here. 700.
Yeah.
If you divide 1.1. 11.1 billion.
Okay.
You multiply it by.
Article said trillion.
No, he said $11.1 billion.
That was in dollars, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
And
dollars.
yes, and I'm using 1,200.
Yeah.
You know, and you divide it by 700
The
kilometers.
thing has gone down to
It's gone down.
1,100.
So are you also going to factor that in your variation?
The what?
Because the CBN is defending, and as it is today, it's about
We
1,100
are doing a calculation. We are
Okay.
running figures.
Okay, so let's
You
go
know,
ahead.
So because we are talking as at today. Okay? So you use
go ahead.
1,200 because it also applies to our own.
Okay, just
now
go ahead.
you get his own at 19,000, 19 billion per kilometer.
Yeah.
Okay? And this kilometer is, 2.22, multiples of standard gauge.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Now, when you now divide this 19 point by this multiple gauge, you get 8.59 billion per kilometer. That is what is
Why are you
costing.
dividing it by this another parameter?
Because a standard gauge is 11.55.
Yeah.
So if you have his total pavement of 23 meters, okay, this 23 meters, how much of it is the multiples of a standard gauge?
Okay.
And so if you divide it by standard gauge of 11.55, you get that at every section of the road, what you have is 2.225 multiples of a standard gauge. Is that correct? So when you have, a cross section, per 1 kilometer of 19 billion, and then you now divide it by the multiples to know how much is this thing going to cost me if it were to be Lagos-Ibadan, that carriageway. Okay? So it is going to be 2.225. So you divide that 19 billion by 2.225, and you get 8.59 billion. Okay. That is what a standard gauge of this kind of construction is going to cost.
But in another interview, you said it should be 8 billion. Now it is 8.9.
8.559 billion. 8.59. Yes.
8.59 billion.
Yes. 8.5.
Okay, so you're saying
8.552 billion. Yes.
Okay, 8.552 billion.
Yes. I will analyze my own.
So you're saying the cost per kilometer
Yes.
is 8.552 billion
Per standard gauge.
per standard gauge.
Yes.
So how are you going to iterate for the 700 kilometers? Because I know the variations will be different.
Let me run my own.
Yeah, so run your numbers. So let's
My
see.
number is, a total of 59, meters width, in terms of, the total pavement. And at the end of the day, I'll tell you there's no comparison, apart from the cost elements, that this one is cheaper by what is saying, by half, and there's no comparison because the cost of what you are doing,
you can't say there's no comparison because we didn't have a tender. That's why I was asking that pertinent question. You can't say there's no comparison. These are your numbers. If I'm to call another engineer to run the number now, in a tender process, they might be able to run it differently.
You are going off the track because I will tell you that there is, baselines, and there are bases. Because it's not an isolated work.
Okay,
we still have a lot of works similar to that are ongoing. When I run my number, I will give you the cost of a similar project that is ongoing, and was awarded about 3 years ago, and I will tell you the cost of that project, now,
so
and what I'm doing.
Because of time, let's move on. 8.5 billion per
that's their own. That's his, what he has brought to the table.
Yeah.
Now my own is, if you divide, my my own is 1.067, trillion. If you divide it by 47, 47.47, are you with me?
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Now you will have, the cost, but you will now multiply the cost by 5.167.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
My multiple standard gauge is 5.167. Is that correct? And then you will now have 4.329 billion per kilometer of standard gauge. That's what I'm doing.
Okay.
Is that correct? Now, this, my own standard gauge has a lot of advantages. One is reinforced concrete. 2 is it has a lifespan of between 50 and 100 years. 3, it is suitable for the coastal road because of high water table. Concrete is very good with water. And why do I say that it has no basis in terms of comparison? This cannot stand the test of time. Tell me a asphalt road that is built in this country that has stayed for 10 years.
Not too maybe the ones built in the time of our law. Maybe that's
maybe the quality of materials and commitment, was better. And then you also have, you know, the local materials, the chippings, the cement, compared to, you know, the importation of bitumen.
Okay, I have a couple of questions, sir. So you were able to run your numbers. So the cost comes out to about 8.5 billion.
No, that is for the one that was quoted.
So yours is
4.32.
4.32 billion per kilometer.
Yes, pay a standard gauge.
Standard gauge. Does that also involve the rail outlay? Because there's going to be
the rail is a different project altogether.
So you are going to cost that differently?
Because the rail is not here.
The rail is not. So this is just the spread out road.
This is not just.
I mean,
this is the cost.
No.
The
This
Bodo Boni project.
Let's not talk about that project now.
No, I want to tell you how competitive this is.
Please, let me ask the question, sir, Minister. This is just for the spread out road. This is not for the rail component of the road. How much is the rail component of the road going to cost?
We've not cost the rail.
You've not costed it. So, but you've just made allotments.
Yes,
for the
25
rail,
meters, yes.
25 meters.
Yes,
so there's a setback allotment for the rail.
That is there.
For the rail component of the road.
Yes.
Another thing I will like to ask you is this: 4.5 billion.
4.39.
4.39 billion.
Yeah.
So per kilometer.
Yes. Per standard gauge.
Per standard gauge.
Yes.
So you are iterating it by 47 kilometers for the first phase, or is your calculation going to iterate it? Is this a standard spread for the 700 kilometers? Because if you say 4.3 times 700 billion, that's over 3 trillion. Is that what it's going to come down to?
You're not getting the figures right.
No, you said per kilometer.
You have to know the cost. What is that 4.329 billion? What is it for? It is for a standard gauge of 11.55. And we have 5.16 multiples of a standard gauge.
Yeah.
So multiply this by 5.167.
So I will now multiply this 3 billion
by
times
5
multiplied by
5.16.
Yes. So it will go about 15 trillion.
Plus and minus. And if you multiply the 8.59.
Okay.
No,
can we leave mathematics?
Can we
leave mathematics?
No, it's the cost.
The two of you are scientists, engineering, science.
So this is about 16 trillion.
Can we talk about
the other cost is going to cost
minus
you about,
the rail?
It's going to cost you about 40 trillion.
Minister.
The one on
so
asphalt.
the total cost is how many trillion?
No, it's not going to
the total cost of the project.
Minister, you people can go and sort out the calculations outside. We ordinary Nigerians, we are interested in policy issues.
Yeah.
And I would like you to address some of the policy issues. I raised the question of landmark.
Okay.
What is the truth about the matter? And then secondly, you are very enthusiastic about Third Mainland Bridge. You've done a good job with Third Mainland Bridge. I've written a piece about it. I went on the road. I like it.
Thank you.
Both above water and underwater. I don't know what you people are doing underwater, but at least what I can see as an ordinary man, I like it. You are also going to Qatar Bridge. Are you doing all of this because you want to please President Tinubu? You know, I mean, if you do Qatar Bridge, you do Third Mainland Bridge, Lagosians will be happy. Tinubu will be happy. You will go and do whatever is remaining in Lagos-Calabar Expressway. So they will say, this is a good minister. That I would like you to address. And then this landmark issue, which is on the table.
Yes.
You and Rufai can meet later and do your calculations as scientists.
Well, the landmark issue, I'm told, and that's the claim of, Eco-Atlantic, that even where landmark, is situated, belongs to them. Okay? But that is not supposed to be my business. I went to see landmark yesterday. I had to tour that shoreline, and it's not the only one that is involved. That's me yesterday, and that's landmark. So we had a very good chat. At the end of the day, I demanded for Cook, for him to know that I came in peace. But I just went there to, understand something, His Excellency says that 12,000 jobs will be lost. And I told Landmark, by what we are doing, that no job will be lost. What could be lost is the shoreline and people that go to play at the shoreline. But his facilities are all intact because we reduced the corridor to 50 meters. And so I saw it, there is no permanent structure other than few shanties along that, shoreline that is affected.
Have you recently done that? Because they were
I said I was.
for them.
I said I was there yesterday. You can
Okay.
see me with landmark yesterday, and you can see two of us laughing. He was happy. I even offered
because
him.
you are laughing doesn't mean things are okay.
No,
It's not because I'm laughing.
I've never seen you laugh when things are not okay. No, so I told him that no job is lost. And he agreed with me because darkening this council without knowledge, just eating up the system. No single job will be lost because all his, these things are all very much intact. There is no single of them that is to be demolished. Who owns the land is not supposed to be, my problem. But the federal government, by the act, about the waterways and the recent Supreme Court judgment, gave the right of ownership of the shoreline to federal government, 250 meters from the point of the shoreline to federal government. So, which means the land belongs to federal government. But we are interested here because we're talking about investment. And we are happy with investment, but we are taking 15 meters of that shoreline and it's irrevocable, And I've told him that if you are interested in the waterways, you can create one on top. You can create one on top.
But that's additional cost for him. For a business he's invested about close to $200 million in already.
Yes, if I'm to sell the shoreline, I will know how much I should sell this shoreline. So I think it is out of leniency because by that Supreme Court judgment, we should be coming back to say, hey, this land belongs to us. You have to pay. So by taking that 15 meters and leaving the rest, because I'm told by my director that NIWA is the one in charge of, shoreline. So it's not under my ministry. So I should just talk as a federal government agent to procure a part of the land of the federal government to do my coastal line. And there will be magnanimity by reducing the corridor to 50 meters, just to ensure that not only his properties, but the rest of properties of people along that shoreline, including the Oba there, the Oba of that entire Oniru community, is also affected, So I don't know why the landmark is, being a huge issue because, they have dished out wrong information that jobs will be lost, that properties will be demolished. No property is destroyed,
But they were markings. They were markings on properties and landmarks.
No,
They were markings.
You are right. Under international law, they see 250 meters isobat belongs to the state, So, but it's good, the explanation you have offered. But tell us, the other question I asked about this excitement about...
Coastal Road.
No, not Coastal Road.
No,
Terminal Bridge, Kata Bridge. Okay. You just want to do everything to please President Tinubu. Say, I'm taking care of your people. In the same Lagos where they ask your own people to jump into the lagoon.
Well, I'm a Nigerian, Abati, and I don't believe in this issue of, this one is from here, this one is from here, and even when I was governor, that was my, position. Because if you want to just be, an Igbo man, God will give you a corridor within that. But if you want to be a national person, God will also give you a horizon that will cover that kind of, calling. Let me say that the Tomeland Bridge, the job was awarded by the previous administration. And it was awarded to an indigenous company, Plycon. And it's supposed to be limited habilitation. And the limited, habilitation almost destroyed that bridge. Well, that bridge was designed to have a dead load of asphalt of 2 inches. But over the years, you have between, 4 inches and 14 inches on that Tomeland Bridge. They created a super elevation that when you're driving, your vehicle will be like this, And so there were potholes, everywhere. So when we came, we had to reach understanding with the contractor and we canceled the project. So it was not an interest of, President Tinubu. It was not me that initiated it just to please Mr. President. No, it is a national interest. I fear for the lives of the people, I love to save lives because every opportunity you have, God has a purpose for that. And so that's why we had to now, milled out everything and we got to the concrete deck. and then we now had to resurface. That's the design of that bridge. Okay. It was not done to please him. Now, you now talked about, the Qatar Bridge and what is going below. I told you in 2013 that a study was carried out by Second. They invited them from Italy. And they checked and they saw that some of the piers below the water are in a very terrible, situation. Because a pier is done onto, engineering, parameters. They say that a pier is pier to reach to the end bearing, whereby you meet a rock and it will stay, it hooks on the rock. Or it is pier under skin friction. Skin friction is being held by the sand. You will never meet a rock. And that's what the Third Mainland Bridge, the Qatar Bridge, that's what they are pied on. So as we have the ocean current, undercurrent, it is, sweeping away the sand, which means that the stability of those piers are no longer there. Then you have people doing illegal mining, along the shores of within the pier distance. Even when the National Assembly, we saw people, destroying to unveil the reinforcement of the pier cap, which is what is aggregating the piers together. They are using it to anchor their boats, while they're either fishing or excavating sand. We saw that. And so in 2019, a study was also carried out to, reconfirm. So I'm building on, the information I have. Okay. And I saw that both Qatar Bridge and the Third Mainland Bridge are in a very bad shape.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for the effort. And we must say that, so far, very commendable from Ministry of Works. But beyond, like Dr. Bati had mentioned, the Southwest, what are your plans for other regions? So the Enugu-Port Harcourt roads, some federal roads that have been, the project East-West roads. So what are your plans for that? And then very importantly, you talk about this huge investment in infrastructure. But one of the challenges that we have is maintenance. So we've opened the Third Mainland Bridge. It's looking beautiful. But like you mentioned, sometimes even the people themselves can be saboteurs, stealing some iron rods and doing that. What are plans to secure these investments to ensure that they're not wasted?
The Third Mainland Bridge, we are not yet done. Like I said, the other interview, that we had an accident yesterday there. As I go out now, I'm going to set out, a building by the island within the Third Mainland Bridge. I'm putting a kind of observation room. Within that location, we have a small jetty where we have a boat. Within that house we're building, we're going to have Navy, Army, police, and of course local security. And we have CCTV. We are going to aggregate the CCTV under that observation room. And then we have also pickups. Now, 2 people after the accident, were dropped inside the lagoon. Yeah. So the rescue team was not there immediately. Yeah. But if we finish what we are doing, they would have seen that accident immediately from the distance, and then the boat would have been released, and they would have known the exact spot and follow it up. Really? So that's what we're doing. Now, the infrastructure development, we are redesigning a number of infrastructure we met on ground, and I must commend Mr. President. He asked me to carry on with all the projects, first and foremost. And then we now see the priorities we are going to give them, a number of major projects, per region. And that's what we're doing on the basis of equity and fairness. Even what we are doing in Third Mainland Bridge, we're also doing it in, Murtala Mohammed Bridge in, Lokoja. And we're also going to understudy other bridges across the nation. Some of these bridges were built 50 years ago, and so there is a need to understudy what is going on. If you have Third Mainland Bridge to go, you will spend over 5 trillion to rebuild it. It's a national asset. It's not an asset of President Tinubu, or it's not an asset of the Lagos state government. It's not something I'm doing to please anybody. But if something goes wrong, by my pedigree and my experience, I'll be blamed very badly. Let it be that I'll procure this and I've announced, look, we have a problem and there is no money to cater for that. God forbid. Okay. Okay. So what we are doing, like in East-West Road, there are a lot of failures on East-West Road. For the reason of this thing I'm talking about, you cannot build East-West Road on asphalt. It is failing. And some of the sections were built below the flood level. So we've isolated those locations that had flood levels and they failed. I inspected that yesterday before I came to Lagos. Okay. And we are treating it, some of them, we are building multiple, say, culverts, and then building that was section on concrete. And then Eleme to Une, is also another terrible situation. That project is about 15 kilometers by 2. That's 30 kilometers. And it's 156 billion. And so if you divide, it has 5 flyovers. It was not awarded by my administration. I inherited it. But I have to keep the figure. But I have to make the return on investment more, reasonable. What did I do? I redesigned it. If you see the project, you see that I'm excavating 1 meter. I'm filling back with lumps of 500. I'm filling back with sharp sand of 300. I'm filling back with stone base. I'm exposing it to traffic. And then I will now come and treat the last stone base of 10 cm with cement. And then they just started concreting about 2 days ago. And then I'm putting observation, CCTV and solar light. And I'm building also a relief station where you can park your vehicles, you can fuel, and so on and so forth. Okay. So it's the new, renewed hope, policy on infrastructure development. Okay,
very good one, Minister. All these roads, I can talk about Benin Auchi, we can talk about even Benin Warri Road, and all those roads. The money is another factor. How supportive has the president been as regards making money available, owing to the fact that the economy is the way it is? Secondly, variations. I can see you have iterated some costs at 1,200, to the dollar for this project. In a case where the naira to the dollar price reduces even further, the markup on the variation, how do we plow back to other projects? Thirdly, I want the total cost plus the rail line of this coastal road, all the phases, the 700 kilometers, the total cost plus the rail. You've iterated 47, we talked about 115 billion thereabouts. I want the total cost for the 700 kilometers, including when you are doing also the rail line in it.
When I come back, I'll give you the figure.
You don't have the total cost now?
No, I don't.
You've not iterated the cost?
I'm designing it.
You're still designing it?
Yes.
Okay.
The rail.
For the rail and the tranche of the roads. Secondly, variations. How are you working on that?
It's what is called VOP, that's variation on price.
Yeah.
And what we do is that when we do a project, we put 5% contingency and we put 5% VOP, variation on price. And so the variation on price is that when you're bidding for a project, you're asked to produce basic rates of materials. What is your labor cost? What is the cost of diesel? What's the cost of sand? What is the cost of concrete? And my position is that for you to make any claim, in my tenure, you must tell me the total, volume of diesel you want to use for earthwork, you want to use for producing asphalt, for producing concrete. You will only make claims on each of the items. You don't lump up everything and say, this month I've used 8,000 liters of diesel. You have to pay me. No, you make claims based on that. And when do you make claims? You make claims when the basic materials in the market, have gone higher than what we saw. And another point, which is also a very big hook on contractors, is that you must use the basic rates to produce the unit rate. So if you say that concrete is 350,000 per meter cubed, yes, what is the component of sand there and how much is it? What is the volume of chipping there and how much is it? What is the volume of roads, So in that way, it's very difficult for contractors to cheat, because if you say that your diesel at the time of procurement was 1,700, meters per liter, naira per meter. Now, how much of it is there for concrete production? How much is there for asphalt? So we'll be able to check. And then you ask me, if the price goes down, I've not used a dollar. I don't use dollar to determine my cost. I just use dollar because His Excellency Atiku Abubakar quoted dollars. So I had to bring it back to Naira. Yes, I had to bring it back for the purpose of running figures and for the purpose of their comparative analysis. But I do not agree that any contractor, there are some contractors that are at loggerhead with me now, and I will terminate the projects, because you cannot make a contract in Naira and then you come and tell me that I should also give consideration, what they call CPI, consideration, for the valuation of the, Naira. And again, you are claiming VOP, So you are cheating the country. And so I do not accept it. I don't agree with that. So, but the other question you asked, supposing you know, the cost of diesel that was quoted in the time of bidding 1,700, for example, goes down to 1,300. Yeah. Okay, then it means that we will review the price downwards. We are allowed to do that.
Okay, so there are constant reviews.
That's
variation.
Variation
downwards.
Yes.
Secondly, let's talk about money.
And let me tell you something. What I'm doing in Lokoja, Benin, and also Benin Wari. I've redesigned those projects on concrete. Beautiful job is going on concrete on Benin Wari.
But that's more expensive. So how are you getting the money for it?
What do you mean by more expensive? No, Rufai, I'm a fellow of Nigerian Society of Engineers, and I'm very good. I'm very good with figures. I analyze things very well. I am telling you that, you know, if I'm to build Lagos-Ibadan, I will build it on concrete, and I'll build it at 80% cost.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about money. How are you getting money for all of this? As the president, you know, be able to allot money for you? Because we know things are tight and there are other budget considerations.
Yeah, well, majority of the projects ongoing now are inherited projects of the NNPC tax credit. Okay. NNPC tax credit, total cost as day is about 5.39 trillion. And what they're committed is 2.58 trillion. So we have a funding gap of 2.7 trillion. They say that they don't have the ability to do that. And my fear is that the job should not stop. You know, even though the spread of that job was not very good, because you have 27% for South, 27% for North Central, 14% for Northwest, 3% for Southeast, and the 4% for North Southwest. You know, it's not good spread, but I have to, for national interest, go ahead to conclude the project.
Honorable Minister, we can't cover the entire field. I mean, you hold a strategic ministry, but just before we go, in 30 seconds, can you assure us that that observation room that you say you put in Terminal Bridge,
yes,
you know, will not translate into additional bureaucracy, where when we try to go onto the Terminal Bridge, they will ask us for marriage certificate, birth certificate, vehicle license, and you know, whatever you may have done with the bridge will become a source of additional stress. Because, you know, you say you will put military there, you will put policemen there, you will put civil defense there. Well, please assure us that they will not be asking for certificates of birth.
Abati, arise and be healed, and your sins are forgiven. Which one is more difficult? You know, people are concerned about having roadblocks, you know, and we are saying no more security on our roads. Everybody stays here, and if you observe anything, then you use the vehicle available or the boat to attend to that immediately. And that is what a civilized society should be doing. And that's what we are simply doing. You will not see any security man on that corridor, you know.
Okay. Yes. Well, just to be sure.
Yeah. And we are doing that in many of our routes. That's the directive of Mr. President. We are doing that on a number of our routes. All our routes, you know, must have a duct, so you don't cut the road again. We have a solar light. We have a prudency. That is the word. You know, prudence is the word. Okay. And even at this cost of this project, the president had once queried me, Umahi, your road project is very expensive. I said, sir, these projects are inherited and I'm reviewing down the cost.
Okay.
So we are together on it.
Thank you. Honorable Minister of Works, Senator Dave Umahi.